Hello, and welcome to a teardown of this rather interesting box that I found many years ago and has been sitting on my shelf for many years. It came from underneath the floorboards in a building I was moving out of. The building had been sold off for something else. I think they were converting it into residential. And this was underneath the floorboards in the network room, and it was unplugged and dirty and unloved. So I thought it needed a new home. So I brought it back to my new office, and it's been sitting on the shelf for a long time. And I was a bit surprised when I opened it, and so I thought it deserved a teardown. Now, this is the Pro MOH, this is Music on Hold. It is by Interradia. They are still an operating company. And if we go to their website, you'll see that they've got a whole lot of new music on hold products and voice products and things. But even under their discontinued section, they don't even show this. So I'm not sure how old this is. But it has a tape, and the tape says budget rent-a-car. So that evidently was budget. And interestingly enough, this is German music. So on the front is a music on hold light, download, and that's the thing that intrigued me to have a look inside. Play, and then bass, treble, music on hold, volume and speaker, output to the telephone line, and obviously 12 volt power in. So if we plug it in, you can't see through there, but the tape was rewinding as I plugged it in. And now it's playing, and was it playing? And now it's playing. Right, there's a beep tone. I'm assuming that's important. And there we go. There is the German on-hold music and message, which is evidently what you heard when you phoned Budget Rent-a-Car. But what is interesting is it plays through the tape. So I'll just let that do that and speed on the video at this point because it's a long message. And nobody likes to be listening to hold music anyway. And there you go, that's the end of the tape, and the tape rewinds. Aha, but the message carries on. Tape's rewinding. So this is the giveaway, obviously. It is a digital on-hold announcer. And if I unplug him for a bit and open this up, let's get the speaker out there. What's inside is a fantastic processor board on top and power supply and audio circuit underneath with the mechanical tape deck over there. So it's a Z80 processor. It's a C4006 PEC. It's got an 8 megahertz crystal on it. So while I think this 0006 PEC can go up to 6 something megahertz, the fact that it's running 8 megahertz probably means that it is running at 4. So we can actually check that. Got my trusty scope. And if we go on to pin 6, which is the clock on the Z80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there you go. You can see that is running at 4 megahertz. So that clock is being divided by 2. So Z80 processor there. We've got a ROM over there that looks like some memory, some glue logic, more memory up here. It has a serial number, a 24768 something. So let's get this board out and have a closer look at it. So here's the processor card. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is a Z80 processor. It's got the ROM over here. It's got RAM over here. This is static RAM. These are 1 megabyte 4-bit wide chips. So that will be 1 megabyte there, and that'll be another megabyte. So that's 2 megabytes on here. Now the Z80 can't access 2 megabytes worth of memory. It can access 64 it's a 16-bit address, so it can access 64K of memory. And so my guess with the Altera over here, which is a Max 7000 series programmable logic device, this may be what's handling the memory between the 2 megs over here, or I mean, it can be a lot more. It can be 4 meg in here, but from the dynamic memory back into the processor for processing back. It's possible that this memory, the voice or the sound memory that's stored in here, doesn't go anywhere near the processor. It could all be handled by this chip. I don't know, because it's a programmable logic device, and so I don't know how this has been set up. If fuses haven't been blown on this, then there might be a way of getting the configuration out of this, but I don't know how this has been set up. But at a guess, it's quite a beefy machine, this, or quite a beefy chip, so it's probably likely that the sound that's being recorded on doesn't go anywhere near the processor. The processor is just instructing this device. Again, I don't know. I could decompile the ROM and maybe have a look in there, but that's going to take more time than I have. So this chip over here is a DAC and a AD converter, so that makes sense. It converts and encodes, or it encodes and decodes. So the analog coming from the tape is going to come into here. It's going to be encoded into digital, and through the processing and the Altera, it's going to be loaded onto memory, and vice versa. When we're playing, it's going to be decoding the digital back into analog and sending it back down to the analog board. These are multiplexers and some control logic to handle information going back and forth through the expansion port here. And so the power is going to come through here, the audio is going to come through here, and the control for the motors is all going to be handled through this expansion port here. So there you go. It's a fairly simply laid out board. I don't think there's that much more to it. It would have been really interesting to understand what's going on in the Altera over here. 8 megahertz clock running. It's being divided by 2, so the Z80 is running at 4 megahertz. I don't know whether there's whether 8 megahertz or 6 or something has been fed into the Altera. It's possible that's running at 8 rather than 4. So there we go. That's the board. 2 lights, 2 switches, and a processor board. I think it's a very neat little board. So this is the analog board, and it's split into 4 sections. We've got the power supply over here. So we've got DC coming in at this end over here, going straight up to the board. Some power rectifiers over here, and on this end down there, that is a high current DC regulator. So this high current DC regulator is probably also feeding into this section over here, which will be the motor control. So there's 2 motors in the tape drive, and at a guess, this is probably an H-bridge driver here, and some controls for various things that are in there. It's got the pin out, or it's got the cables that go out to the motors, and there's some sensors in there, and the black and white goes to the read. It's only a read. It's obviously we're not writing anything to this deck, so that's just a read. This section is the audio, in fact all the way down here. So we've got, if you can see that properly, we've got some pots over here for bass and treble, and the music can hold volume and speaker volume. This is a 4-watt power amplifier. It's a dual power amplifier, so I'm assuming that one part of the amplifier is feeding the speaker, which is fed out of those pins there, and the other part of the amplifier will be feeding back into the telephone circuit. So this is the telephone circuit here, the suppressor and the jack going out to the lines. So that's the board. It's a fairly well contained board. It's nicely split up. I like the way it's nicely defined. Driver, power, data out or telephone out, and audio section there. So I do wonder what's happened with this chip. You can see this is quite crunched here, and that's probably a clip or a crocodile clip that's been attached on here while they've been testing. And maybe that's been for adjusting and calibrating the system. I don't know. It certainly looks a bit damaged. We'll take the tape deck off next and see what's underneath there. Right, so here's the tape mechanism, and as I mentioned before, it's just a reed, so we've only got 2 wires coming up here. I think that's how it works with a reed. You only need the 2. Otherwise, it would be, and probably mono as well. Yeah, it would just be a single track on there. So, yeah, there's not much on this board. It looks like it might have been, where are we going? Looks like it might have been also set for something else. There's some other components that could go in here, transistor resistors, but basically nothing else on it. I don't know what these are. These are labeled 1, 3, 4, and 6. So I'm not sure what would have gone in there. There's nothing on the bottom that I can see. Yeah, they're just empty. Although having said that, yeah, so there's something. Okay, so we do have a couple of sensors. There's a sensor here, so when we close this and we eject, it's pushing down on a switch. And in fact, so that's what these would be. These would be switch positions, other switches coming in. That would make sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one here, when you put a tape in and close down, okay, so that's pressing in both those switches over there, and if I eject, yeah, so this one's is saying whether you've ejected, and this one is saying whether there's a tape in there, because if you obviously close that down, it's not depressing any of the buttons, but you do that, of course, it does depress a button. So this side would be whether we've ejected or not. That side is whether there's a tape in there. There are 2 motors on this. There is one that's driving through this belt, is driving the play. Is that going to be the play wheel? Yep, that's going to be driving the play. And then there's another motor here, which I'm guessing is going to handle the fast forward and rewind, or mainly just the rewind, I guess, because it probably wouldn't be a fast forward. So there's some control up on this gear over here, and that gear, yep, that gear. So there's 2 gears. There are 2 gears on each of these sprockets, and this motor, from what I can tell, doesn't look like it's driving something. It looks like it's it looks like it is just an actuator that's moving a gear, which is a bit odd, because this is, I'm assuming this is a full-on motor. It looks like a motor, because there is also a solenoid over here that is interacting, and I'm guessing that this is selecting between play and rewind. So I'm assuming when rewind kicks in, it pulls this lever. This will engage this gear, or disengage this gear, I guess. I don't know. I might get this plate off and just try and have another look. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's just clipped on that side. Right. So there we go. There's, if you can see in there, let's try and get this light pushing in here a bit. That's probably a bit better. So this gear is going to move between these 2, and so if it engages that way, then it is going to rewind. So I'm not sure. Okay, so this motor is definitely doing the rewind, because there's the gear there. So, yep, my guess is going to be that the solenoid, can't quite see what it's doing, but I think the solenoid is going to disengage this sprocket, and when this motor turns on, it's engaged, the solenoid is kicking it onto this sprocket so it can do a rewind, and then vice versa. That's going to be my guess of how that works. I think that makes sense. There's another little board down here. which has evidently got some sensor in it. And it's some sensor that comes in underneath here. So that might be a speed sensor. I wonder if that's putting... it's either going to be sensing the rotation. There's a black dot on here, so that might be as it's passing that's going to be a single rotation. That might be one guess, or it's just checking whether it's moving at all. Right, let's put this all back together. Let's get this bit on as well. Certainly not going to work without the board coming in. And plug the speaker back in. And let's see if it still works. There we go, it's doing something. It is rewinding the tape. Wait for the beep. I'm guessing that tone is telling the processor to start recording. Okay, just let this run through, and then I just want to try the download button. There we go, it looks like it's come to the end again. Right, so if I press the download button now, see, that doesn't seem to do anything. Play doesn't do anything. If I pull the tape out, let's pull the tape in backwards and see what happens. Ah, okay, so now it's rewinding, so it knows whether we put a new tape in, or it assumes we put a new tape in. Okay, so yes, when you change the tape and then press the download button, it will download the tape into the memory. I'm assuming that everything is on here. It's a long tape, this. What is that? It's like a C90. Hang you a long message. If you have any ideas about what you think I should do with this, I do have a vague thought that I might do something with the retro computer and have it as a data recorder of sorts. I'm not sure. Bit of an overkill. But other than that, I don't really know what to do with it. So let me know what you think if you have any thoughts about that. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you can, and thumbs up if you liked it. And until the next video, see you then. Bye.